Hi, it's Penny here, and it is time for me to make some new 5-star predictions. So last year I made 15 5-star predictions and only read 11 of them. So this year I'm going to make 16 5-star predictions because that makes sense to me. And I'm good at making bad decisions, I guess. Anyway, like last year, I do have these divided into categories. This time I have 4 categories of 4 books each. Firstly, let's start with the ones that I didn't read from last year, which are all series that I actually own the first books of physically. So we have The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I've really got to learn how to say that name. All of these I've read the first chapter of. This one, we follow this young boy who finds a book in this cemetery of forgotten books and discovers that all the other copies of this book are being destroyed, I think. It's written in such kind of a weird, mysterious way that I really enjoyed, so I am really hoping I will love this. I've heard great things about it. Then as well, we have The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This is part of a big chonky epic fantasy series. I think some kind of like big war between empires. I will admit the first chapter was very heavy on description, but I also really loved the way that the world and the characters were being developed through that. And it seemed like it was going to be quite a lush and complete world. I mean, you would expect it to be with this many pages. So I'm hoping to really love this, even though I kind of don't really know what it's about. But right on the back, I'm seeing magical books and shape-shifting gods. So like, it's got to be good, right? Then we have A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Parry, who is a New Zealand author. I'm from New Zealand, so I always like to support New Zealand authors. And this, I really loved the first chapter. I think I read the prologue in the first chapter. Oh, I remember. The first chapters are just named by different locations, so I couldn't even work out how much I read. However, we have in this world only the nobles who are allowed to do magic, and the poor people of this world, if they get caught doing magic, are basically enslaved. So I think in this we get the perspective of a young boy who accidentally does magic, and then kind of the awful experience he goes through from there. But we're also following these nobles who are involved in the courts and trying to change like the legal rights of magicians because they don't think it's right that only nobles should be able to use their magic. And I really loved these young men who were so passionate about the law but also could see that it was wrong, and just like their eagerness to make the world a better place while still kind of recognizing their own privilege. So I have a lot of hope for what this series is going to do, and I think it's only a duology, so be a good one to start and then read another book and it'll be done. Oh, I've just realized the last one on this list was one that I had predicted as 5 stars last year, but it isn't one that I own. So maybe I lied to myself about those categories. Anyway, the last 5-star prediction that I'm carrying over from last year is Infinity Gate by M.R. Carey. So I have also read the first chapter of this though, and I loved it. The way that it's written, it starts out with this AI telling us about the world and about their special birth and how they were created to perform surgery on the universe or on the multiverse. So I think this is some kind of like multiverse story where there's like a big civilization across the multiverse, but there's also like an impending apocalypse. I don't really know, but I love the writing style. I've loved a lot of things by M.R. Carey before. I often love multiverse stories, and I just think it's going to be super great. Then I have 4 more books that are also on the top priority list from the Try a Chapter series project that I've been doing. So firstly, we have The Book of Chonky, also by M.R. Carey. This is a post-apocalyptic world where it seems like the trees are alive and keeping humans in a smaller area. And we're also getting this young boy named Chonky who kind of, it's clear that he's telling you the story from the future where he has done all these heroic deeds, and he's going to tell you the real story about what really happened and what went wrong. And this is another one where I just really loved the writing style, and the setup of this post-apocalyptic world just sounded so intriguing that I can't wait to try this one either. I mean, these are a 5-star prediction, so of course I want to start them all as soon as I can. Then we have The Outside by Ada Hoffman. So this is the beginning of a trilogy, and the first introduction is just like this religious text about the creation of AI, kind of. So I think in this world, Basically, these different AI are the gods of the world, and when humans die, they basically become absorbed into the consciousness of a particular AI god, depending on whatever the human excelled at. But also, these AI gods, like, they want humans to be great so that they can then absorb greatness into themselves, but they don't want humans to be too great because they don't want humans to, like, have too much freedom and, like, get out of control. But our main character is also doing some kind of like scientific experiment that I expect is going to go a little bit wrong. So again, just the whole idea of AI gods and the way that that introduction was written, I could just read that over and over. I loved it. Then we have The Reindeer People by Megan Lindholm. So this is just a trilogy, and the books are actually fairly short. And if you don't know, Megan Lindholm is a pen name for Robin Hobb. Well, actually, I'm not even sure what her real name is. Maybe all her names are pen names. But anyway, Megan Lindholm is the same person as Robin Hobb. And so I could already tell from the first chapter that this is going to have all that Robin Hobb emotion. The way the characters were developed, even just in their first chapter, had me just loving our main perspective, but also hating this other character. I hope he dies. So I kind of have forgotten, but we're kind of following this woman who is a healer and her son, who seemed to me to be somewhat autistic, although the shaman of this tribe has said that he has the potential to become a shaman, although it's the shaman of this tribe that's the guy that I really hate. And she has decided that this tribe of people isn't really the right place for her at the moment, so even though it's winter, she's going to take her son and go off alone. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen from there, but I can tell already that it's going to rip my heart out. And like, the opportunity to have Robin Hobb rip my heart out in a short duology, sign me up. Then we have The Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. I'm a little bit sad that I didn't read this in 2024 because I believe it's actually set in 2024, or like bridging from 2024 to 2025. It's set in this like post-apocalyptic world that like is so close to our own world that it feels very real. And we're following this young girl who has hyper empathy. So when they see somebody else being hurt, they feel that emotion themselves, and like to the point where if they see someone else bleeding, they will bleed as well. And the beginning of the book talks a lot about her relationship with her father, who was like a preacher. And I think the idea is that she is going to end up creating her own religion in this story, but I don't really know. But I love the writing style. I felt utterly creeped out by this post-apocalyptic world being so close to our own. So I definitely need to get to this as soon as possible so that I can really get like that impact of reading it at the time that the book says that it's set. Then we have The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. So I've heard so many great things about this, and I also think it's pretty short. I think it's something about this moon god that has been trapped for a really long time, giving the royalty of this world their power. He's being taken from one place to another and then finds a way to escape. But I also think it's written in a really creative way. I've heard that it's got first person, third person, and second person. I know a lot of people don't like second person, but I often enjoy the creativity of it. I also really like moon gods and like gods interacting with people. So I'm hoping that I'm going to really love this. And speaking of gods, actually I think the first 3 books in this category are all God related. So we have The Library at Mount Cha by Scott Hawkins. So I think what this story is about, although I've heard that it's very strange. So I think it starts out with these siblings who have been raised by their father to all be very specialized in the topics that they study, and they're not allowed to share knowledge with each other. And I think it becomes clear that their father is actually God, and there's some weird things going on. I don't really know, but I've heard so many people say great things about it that I'm hoping I will really love it too. Then we have The Raven Tower by Anne Leckie. So Anne Leckie wrote Ancillary Justice, which is actually right behind me because I was just talking about it in my check-in on last year's 5-star predictions, and this was a 5-star prediction that went well. So I'm very excited to read something else by Anne Leckie. And this is another one where there's some kind of gods meddling with humanity. I think a raven god who perhaps is losing their power. I don't really know, but it's Anne Leckie, who I now really love, and something about gods. Also, Reed Becker said it was great, and so I'm going to tell you that I'm excited to read it, even though that's the whole point of this video. Then lastly, for the standalones, we have The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. So Amal El-Mohtar, and I'm probably saying that wrong, probably. Anyway, she is one of the 2 writers that wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War. I really love this. And I think from what I've read, The River Has Roots is going to have that same kind of like beautiful writing style. It's about these 2 sisters, and it seems like there's going to be some kind of music involved, and also maybe some kind of death that even death can't separate them, I think it says. Honestly, the cover's beautiful. I know the writing's going to be beautiful, so that's enough for me. This is a new release, so actually the next 4 books that I want to say are 5-star predictions are all new releases, so this could have gone on that section of the list as well. So, talking about new releases, firstly we have The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. I think this is going to be some kind of magical hotel story, but really I'm just going to pick it up because I've loved everything I've read by Maggie Stiefvater. I love her writing style, the way she describes things so like strangely and magically, and just like a lot of her concepts, so I'm sure I'm going to love this. Then also The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. So I really love the First Law world, mainly the First Law trilogy, the first trilogy in that bigger world. I did enjoy the rest of the books, but not as much. But this is like a standalone separate from all of those. I don't really know what it's about, but I'm happy to just go into it without really knowing anything and hoping that I'll have a good time. Then we have School of Shards by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. So this is a translation. I think it's originally in Russian, but Marina and Sergei Dyachenko are Ukrainian, I think. Anyway, this is the 3rd book in the Vita Nostra series. So Vita Nostra is so weird. I loved it. We're following this young girl who runs into this man who makes her do weird tasks to kind of earn her way into this special institute of technology where all the classes don't really make sense and it's not really clear what the goal of the school is, and it's so abstract and strange, and I love the whole thing. The second book wasn't quite as good, but it was still really good, and so I'm super excited to get another book in that series and just like have my mind destroyed again. And then lastly, I think we're going to get Maggie the Undying by Ilona Andrews. So I've always loved the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. Also last year, I think I read Hidden Legacy series by them and really loved it. This year I read the Innkeeper Chronicles by them and really loved it. And I'm currently reading the Edge novels by them and really loving it. So there's a theme going with Ilona Andrews, and I just want to continue that. Maggie the Undying, I think, is about this like normal everyday girl in our world who accidentally ends up finding herself in a fantasy world. So it's kind of like a portal fantasy, except that I think I read the first chapter of this and it's clear right from the beginning that she's not doing well. Like a lot of portal fantasies have this fantasy that it's just going to be super easy, and I think Maggie the Undying is going to be a little bit more realistic, while also still having like Ilona Andrews' great action and humor and relatable characters, and I'm just so looking forward to it, as is true for every book that I've talked about in this video. So these are going to be my 5-star predictions for 2025. Let me know if you're planning to pick up any of these, or let me know if you've got any 5-star predictions that you're hoping to get to soon. Do subscribe if you'd like to see more of my bookish videos. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.